that caused them to disappear, whether they was absorbed into the sapiens or whether the genetic stock of Erectus just died off. Right? So then we have what we call Homo sapien, which means the intelligent man, a Latin term telling us that it was written in the schools of Rome. Latin was the Roman language that the Moors wrote for scholarship. So they call them Homo erectus, which means upright man in English. And now it's telling you a different story. So the Homo erectus suddenly becomes Homo sapien, which means the intelligent man.
Right. Go ahead.
And the intelligent man goes from Homo sapien to Homo sapien sapien, which means the intelligent or the wisest of the intelligent man.
Go ahead.
Which is supposed to be the modern day hominid, people of the planet. We supposed to be Homo sapien sapien, and we supposed to come in a multitude of skin tones, hair textures, and genetic bloodlines. The phenotype is the external representation of the genotype, which is the code that's on the DNA. So when they talk about the phenotype, they talking about physical appearance. But when they talk about genotype, they talking about the genetic code in the bloodline, in the stock of the blood, right? Now, this takes us here because it shows you that it's another group of people on the planet that's not from Africa.
Go ahead.
This is those people we were showing you in the pictures, the original people of India. It says, according to genetic studies, Dravidian peoples are primarily associated with ancestral South Indian genetic stock. When they say genetic stock, that means that they have an isolated block of genetics that's specific to that group. That forms a stock. So they got a series of genetic traits that reference them as being of a genetic bloodline or family line. Right? That creates the stock, right? Which is considered a distinct lineage within the South Asian population. Remember, I told you those are Inky kids. They got a different bloodline than Enlil kids and Anu kids.
Right.
Right? It's along from the drama, the Indo-Aryan population, their Y chromosome haplogroup is often associated with L1M22, which is linked to the Neolithic expansion in West Asia. Right? So what they're talking about is this father line right here. And it's got a different father line than the other father line that we was looking at. Because remember, the first one was MI55. Scroll back up a bit. And this one is L1M22.
Right here, yeah.
Right. So they two different father lines, two different genetic stocks. Right? And they distinctly separate. That means that they got a set of traits that make them be unalike.
Right.
Right? Because you see it say, which is associated with the L1M22, which is linked to the Neolithic expansion in West Asia. The Neolithic is the new age of stone or the new age period. Neo means new. Lithic means age or set period. The majority of the genetic evidence point to the Dravidian population having a high proportion of ASI ancestry, which differentiates them from their ancestral North Indian. See that word, Ani? That's the same word, Anu. That's the Egyptian word for Anu. Component often associated with Indo-Aryan populations. So now this is telling you that this group of people have a component often associated with Indo-Aryan population. Remember, Aryan means royalty. It means the nobility. Indo means new. So this is Enlil kids that's replacing or get being replaced. No, this is Enlil kids replacing Inky kid, putting the real royal family or the real Aryan on the bottom
Mm-hmm.
and assuming the position as the royal families of India.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, a lot of us don't know India used to be called Western Ethiopia, and they was
Mm-hmm.
using the skin tones of the people's darkness as the synonym between the two. It
Mm-hmm.
wasn't until later on in the Anunnaki Wars where the top was assigned to Enlil's children and the bottom was assigned to Enki's children, which
Mm-hmm.
takes us to the Asiatic black man. So, who is the Asiatic black man, the maker, the owner, the cream of the planet Earth, God of the universe, is a Sumerian representation of Enki.
Go ahead.
So,
A fashioner.
Enki,
Yeah.
right, because he is the one who formed man from the dust of the earth
Right.
by legend, right? By legend. It don't mean he literally formed man from the dust of the earth.
Right.
Right? But the legend says that. So if you know who the legend is talking about, then you can understand the keys behind the codes in order to unlock your enslavement by giving you dogma in place of information.
Right.
Right? So these stories all have interweaving tales in them. Most of us will never notice them, like when they make the acronym ANI, and
Okay.
then you go to the Temple Scrolls and you get the Book of Ani,
Okay.
right? So that's not an accident because the people who's assigning the acronyms is all part of their brotherhood,
Go ahead.
right? Now we talking about priest wars. These priests is the same one. Everything was a priesthood in ancient culture.
Mm-hmm.
Your scholars was your priests of information, or as we would call minister of information, if you in more modern terms like Black Panthers or Nation of Islam, you have a minister of information. He's over the study of the information that we need to get out to the people.
Right.
A minister of information, an information minister, not to give you the dogma, but to give you information.
Right.
So this is why you would have a need for a Final Call newspaper or Muhammad Speaks,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right?
Okay.
This is the I forgot the name of the Nuwabian newspaper he used to put out, but these was necessary. The Black Panther Press, all of this was necessary because they was using information against us instead of using information to empower us.
Mm-hmm.
By knowing who these people are referring to in ancient times under modern culture, you have to learn both modern um, terminologies and expressions, and then you have to make allowance for the evolution of ideologies to return back to themselves. In other words, follow a loop,
Mm-hmm.
which takes you to the Emerald Tablets, where Tahuti say you are in cycles within cycles. So once you start flipping out of the cycles, you flipping out of the loop,
Right.
right? In downtown Chicago, it's called the loop,
Uh-huh.
right?
Uh-huh.
So what we trying to flip out of the loop is the truth, and the truth shall make you free,
Right.
right? So when we understand that when Elijah talk about the Asiatic black man, he's talking about the bloodlines that came to redeem the earth by suffering.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they start talking about the different stocks in science, they describe them as what they call South Asian stock or Asian stock, right? And then
Uh-huh.
they start breaking them up into different linguistic stocks, but then you can always get the tail from the father line.
Okay.
It's the same with if you do the investigation on the Y chromosome, the all of them big ass tribes in Africa gonna come from the same patrilineal source,
Right.
but the female line, the mother lines are going to be different because when you got a genetic trait to different genetic stocks, you produce a different byproduct.
Right.
The byproduct is to find out how to give everybody that was denied rights of ascension under the reign of the Anunnaki, they ascension rights back. Right? Everybody should have an equal right to ascension. And Inky wrote it and told them in the council when he told them the only remedy is to give them one drop of Anunnaki blood,
Right.
which ties back to the Americas in Tahuti.
Yeah.
Tahuti, being the master geneticist, know how to correct genetic defects.
Right.
But he learned it from Inky, the master geneticist that taught the master geneticist. But his artistic side from his mother line made him become an even more brilliant geneticist than his father in order to correct all of the bloodline mistakes, taking you back to the old bloodlines,
Right.
the
Yeah. So
Omega
just ask the question.
bloodline.
I just asked it. Go ahead, bro.
Right. So the Omega bloodlines is the curative bloodlines for the A's, the B's, and the ABs.
Okay.
So when you tying into the vine, you using the prime root blood stock, the O bloodlines, to correct the genetic defect that's coming in on Y chromosomes through A and B.
Uh-huh.
We ain't going too heavy on them. This
No,
sound like
look. For my
that sound
Bible
like I'm
guys,
teaching the
hey,
whole
for my
genetics
look,
class, and I don't know. I don't know
yeah,
if they
you
can
going
keep
in.
up with
Look,
this one.
you really, hey, Rod, hey, they don't know. I'm gonna tell you what they don't know about Rod. Me and Rod been on lives with doctors, and Rod twisted their cap off. That he was telling them stuff about their own profession that they didn't know. It's like, so people underestimate you like one of the the heavy hitters, the
Yeah,
underestimated
I got to make
doctors.
it, but Elijah wanted to be plain enough that when I get done understanding it, that a kid would know what I'm talking about. A kid be able to put the
Yeah,
pieces together. Because if
this
a
is
child can't understand it, then I'm using too much scientific lingo to explain
right,
it.
right.
So
Trans,
check with the comments, see what they say. I don't want to go.
this what I want, because he just said a whole bunch right there with the one drop of blood and inky and everything, and that's in the Bible. If for your Bible guys that's shooting shots, because that's really God made man in His image. That image part is the one drop of blood. Like it translate. That's what they translated into in the Old Testament, and that was inky. What I'm saying, upgrading this thing. But this is the question I got for you. Now we talking about when we think about Asians, they mostly have subsidized us on the TV to think that Chinese. We don't think about Hindus or Russians, because Russians Asians too. I mean, well, I don't know if it depends on the term, but I'm saying based on the term, they telling
They
us
actually
that.
classified as Eurasians,
Okay, go ahead.
giving them the bridge to both Europe and Asia,
Uh huh.
which is actually the name of the continent.
Go ahead.
Europa, right? Who Europe is named after was one of the daughters of Isis, and her land was to govern over Europe. This
Uh
is
huh.
where you get your priestesses of Helen going into Greece to civilize Greece with education, and it came in matriarchally. And this is why all of the ancient Greek philosophy was heavily influenced by Egypt
Uh huh.
because they were being sent on a mission under the orders of Helen, which would be in the European mythology, Europa, the
Uh huh.
goddess of Europe, the heir to the land of the ice people. The ice people was the ones who dwelled in the frozen lands of the Siberian Peninsula, coming into what we call today Europe,
Uh
right?
huh.
So while we see the migrations of the different original stocks, and you got to give a shout out to Ivan Van Sertima for
Go ahead.
putting those Africans presence in early Asia. together and having those professors write those articles, African presence in early America, even though they using the term African to refer to all melanated groups are not Africans. As for example, those old Mississippians been there since Atlantis was an active civilization all over the world, and they still there, right? But the same with those people called Zulu. They've been in South Africa, what we call Zulu land, ever since Atlantis. They was Inky's children. They was the highest bloodline in what we call the Abzu.
Okay.
So now, if you want to know what the Abzu is, it's Rafali in South Africa, where the ancient mines, the ancient gold mines, are still there.
Go ahead.
Right. So this was the Abzu, the stronghold of Inky. Inky dwelled in an area in the Abzu, much like Credo Mutwa did, except Inky was catered to by multiple different females from around the world.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Right. And these people came out and had different stocks and bloodlines out of those people that dwelled in Zulu land or in the Abzu. Zulu means Skywalkers. Right now, the Zulu being the Skywalkers, they talking about the children of the Orianos. They talking about what we call on Earth the people of the sun. Your Kal-El in them, who draws extra power from our unique solar rays by the way that it activates the melanin to communicate with their light body in order to give them higher forms of consciousness. Right? So when we talk about the different bloodlines, it's gonna trace all the way back to a mother line. It's gonna have father lines cut off at varying different points in the genetic history of the earth. But when you get to a certain mother line on the 12 regions of the earth, it was broke up into 12 regions based on the 12 zodiacal chart signs in the sky, because it was divided as above, so below. So if you take the sky map of the Zodiac and lay it over the Earth map from the United Nations, you'll get the 12 divisions that make up the different houses of the daughters of Isis, because it was the high priestess of each one assigned as the empress of her region. And the one who was at the center of it all, they call her Big Mama or Mami Wata or Tawaret, incarnate as the great mother who walks on the earth, as Mother Earth incarnated. And she has the genetic stock to unleash the wealth of the world upon the proper number of heirs being redeemed through a family redeemer, or what they call a bloodline redeemer in the Bible. Right? And this was the person assigned to go through all of the families, parts of the family, in order to figure out what's the cause of the disruption in the family. Once you locate the cause of the disruption, you actively interfere with the disruptor. Once you interfere with the disruptor, it gets the attention of other bloodline heirs who will come to you with codes, and they will flip codes to each other because they playing in the blind, almost like Bop Goes the Weasel or Tag in the Dark. You it. And when enough families find a person who knows how to redeem the families of the earth, they assign them the position as the Speaker of the House.
Go ahead.
As in the Speaker of Big Mama House stands on the front porch and say, everybody get ready, Big Mama on her way home. Right? So now everybody go put on their Sunday best because Big Mama been on vacation for a while, but she come back home and they start singing the Alafia song. So this is the different groups of the genetic stocks of India. And if you look, you'll see the ones that's the darkest. Some of them even got kinky hair that's real dark like that. And some of them got a ether. Those inky babies.
Right here.
Now the ones up at the top, second to the right, those Enlil babies from out of his Earth family stock. And up the other way.
Right
The
here.
second, yeah, about them over there. The lady in the first one look, yeah. No, all of them is the same. All of them inky kids.
Right here at the top.
Now you see her at the top. She looked like she's from Australia. Her right there.
Yep.
Those
Yep.
are
Her
also
too.
inky children. To them, we talking about a
Yeah, they
Y
don't got that. They
chromosome.
don't got complete straight hair. They got like a 7, 8. They don't got that 6
Hmm.
though. They're a little
So
bit
now
more like
when we start talking about the peoples of Asia, we talking a group or a genetic stock they call Melanesians. And this is where you see the brown skin with the blonde hair.
okay.
Like he just old. That's why his hair white. But if you go to the another picture I sent you, it was showing you those kids with the blonde hair.
Yeah, I got it right here. Right here.
Them right there. These are called Melanesian people.
Yeah.
And they got blonde hair and melanated skin. They come from a different genetic line out of the what they classify as the Negrito peoples, which consists mostly of the South Pacific Islands going into New Zealand down into Australia, and they say this is where the Australian people migrated from up here, and this is why they hair have a propensity to turn blind. But that's the bleaching due to the solar rays. The
Okay.
sun bleaches their hair like that. Their hair might get darker in the wintertime. And in the summer, the sun will bleach their hair like that, right? But it don't bleach everybody hair like that. Only certain
Yeah.
genetic lines, those are called the golden ones when you're talking about how they refer to in the ancient texts. Those Melanesian
Hey,
people right here, they were called the golden ones. Look at them and
yeah.
you'll see why.
Hey, these people are like they show them as like primitive looking, but they intelligent because that the tyrosine in their brain is it's a tyrosine in their brain that's going more than the normal human. I
But
did some research
you
on
gotta
it
keep
on
in
the
mind, however smart we might be right now, we dumb as hell, including
right
me.
right
Because the capabilities that we have and what we've been poisoned into not using is a giant shift in intelligence.
okay
In other words, what you haven't been poisoned out of and miseducated out of to recover any of that, it's a massive jump in that in intelligence just by overcoming them two obstacles: the social
right
conditioning and the poisoning. I don't know which one worse.
right right. I think social conditioning because we by who the people we are. If they just let us go and do what we do, we always make a way out or find a way to get out of the get into the game. Nubians find
Okay,
a
so
way.
now I'm glad you said that. Now look at this. For the last 500 years, we've been on the bottom.
Uh-huh.
Where was we at the eternity of history before that 500-year stretch?
We were ruling the world. I think 500 years ago, the Nubians were ruling the world.
Okay, you say we was ruling the world.
Yep.
500 years ago, some people crawled out the caves and whooped our ass.
Yeah, that don't make no sense. That don't sound right. It's just something missing on that.
Right.
They had help. Them guys
So,
from the caves had help from about they was puppeted. They had a puppet master. The hand.
yeah. Okay,
They
go back to Elijah Muhammad.
okay.
He said when Yakub realized that he wasn't going to see his creation come into fruition,
Okay. Go ahead.
he left his scientists in charge.
Okay.
Remember that?
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
now go back to when he first assembled his scientists,
Uh-huh.
and they described them as being dark as night.
Yeah, that's right.
So the scientists that's
Hey, boom.
controlling the narrative is some niggas,
That's right.
and they call themselves Jews. I sent you a real clip about the Jews. I don't know if you got it. Because
Oh yeah, I
people
got
keep
it.
thinking
I
these
got it
pale
here.
faces is the Jews. They not the Jews.
Here, and if not, I'm about to play it through this. I can play it through
Mm-hmm.
this other thing. Tell me, can you hear it when I play it? Man, Rod, that's right. That right there. That's a lot right there. It says the whole game. The whole it shuts down the whole layout. It tells you how the whole layout really is shut down. It's all over with already. The Pope already told them to stop the Spanish Inquisition. The Spanish Inquisition is over. Stop what you're doing. Stop this foreign. He explained how all of them are foreigners, foreign government. They're not even
And
supposed to
that's
be
what I've
on
been
our land.
saying. And that's what I've been saying the whole time, that America is a corporation. You hear me kept saying Inc.
Yep.
United States
Yep.
Inc. United
Yep.
States of America Inc. Because they incorporated, but the charters is held overseas. They not domestically chartered amongst us. They foreignly chartered in the roles of the holdings of the royal houses of Europe.
Right.
And the asset to settle their dispute among themselves was the treaty arrangements that they made with each other as if they was us.
Uh-huh.
This is why he said to surrender when the rightful heirs come along, that they wasn't going to resist handing it over. This is
Right.
why it's so important for us to remember our culture, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we know now what enough of us aware, and Queen Candace already said that we almost at critical. So she said what she said.
Man, so why so like the court system's going on? It shouldn't even be no court system going on where you got to go to court and they give you 100, 200 years for something like it shouldn't even be
All
that.
of the courts was ordered to cease and desist
Right.
back in 2013. They've been acting on in their own capacity. That means they are assuming the function with none of the jurisdictional authority to continue doing business on the land under
Wow.
the old conditions.
So how do
Those
we stop these
conditions no
motherfuckers?
longer exist.
So how do we stop these motherfuckers from continuing to commit war crimes? By them doing us like they doing us, they commit war crimes against us. So like we need more people to stand up and speak out against this. Like this is fucking not right, man. It's not right.
Okay, so now, remember I said earlier when we seized FEMA,
Uh-huh.
because we tell you right in the letter to surrender FEMA and all of their military holdings,
Right?
right? So when we seized FEMA, they gave us the infrastructure to transfer the government while they prosecute the war criminals.
Okay.
Now, while the big part of the war is taking place and they want to keep people from panicking, they have to control the narrative in order to wake the people up at a steady incremental pace
Uh-huh.
in sudden shock and awe moments, deaths of celebrities, celebrity arrests, political satire,
Uh-huh.
attempted assassinations,
Right?
assassinations, senility in office. All of these are sensationalisms.
Okay.
Sensationalisms is the theatrical effect being used to subtly wake the people from their slumber by showing them the game is so obvious in your face that you can't even see it because it's hidden in plain sight.
Right. Right.
Right.
Man,
So
so
who is controlling all of those organizations?
hey, Rod, that's a quick question. Because that makes it's starting to make sense now of why Trump was doing what he was doing and going after and prosecuting people for war crimes that's in the government. It
You
makes
don't
sense.
remember Obama gave a speech when right after the funeral, when all of them got the letter, and he was saying that Trump was weaponizing the judicial system against his enemies,
Right.
right? That's because they had arrested almost everybody in DC and replaced them with lookalikes and skin mask people to give the illusion that it's business as
Damn.
usual. And some of them, they can't even, they so conspicuous by their absence that something has to be up
Yeah, we heard
because
that
these,
from Hillary Clinton.
yeah, because these media hogs, that's what they are. They gluttons for the spotlight, but they do nefarious things to hold positions of power, and it be belligerent to the people across the land. So now you have to create a structure to a scaffolding around a empire before you start disassembling it so that you can keep the people from panicking while they watching Rome fall.
Damn, this shit crazy.
So they've been watching scaffolding around major locations throughout DC for the last 5 years.
Uh-huh.
But on the TV, they steady running these political narratives from these recording studios as if they in the Senate and Congress,
Yeah.
if they in the White House, right? And you look out the White House window and you see a whole different scenery than every White House before, you know something ain't right.
Right. Right.
You see gaps in the corner where the walls don't touch, you know something ain't right.
Look, they would shoot. Look, I know you ain't lying, Rod. They built a replica White House right here on the boardwalk, and they shoot to sit there right there with 50 them they shooting they built rebuilt a whole identical White House, and they shoot. Man, I'm gonna go over there and film that shit one day over there on the boardwalk. Yeah, they got it blocked out. They shoot presidential shit like it's real shit there at that spot.
Yeah.
By Boxdale Air Force Base, on next to Boxdale Air Force Base. Yeah,
So
man.
if the people want to go back and see a page that's been chronicling the closed DC for years,
Uh-huh.
it's a YouTube page called Nancy Drew.
Okay.
Nancy Drew been going around filming scaffolding around the infrastructure for the last 5 years, showing you that the stuff they telling us on TV don't match the narrative that they giving us in the news.
Right.
And some of us watch her, but most of us we don't believe that the news would tell us misinformation. So therefore, we disregard what the actual boots on the ground, real live time intel coming from a lady with her phone, filming walking down the street with all of these scaffolds up, these big old fences around state buildings. It was being liquidated. It was being determined if we're going to demolish it or turn it into a museum of sorts,
Hmm.
you know? So all of them things is going into the excavation of the tunnels that was under the White House. Where did they go? Who houses did they stop? You know, why was they connected to that house? Did they have cameras in the tunnel to see who came through the tunnel? All of that stuff was being investigated during the Trump administration,
Uh-huh.
right? So when the Biden administration come in and they tell you um, that the vote was rigged, they know what they're talking about because they got it on video.
Damn. That's just it's just
And
a
the
criminal.
video
It's a
camera
criminal,
so out
man.
cold, it's literally looking over the dude's shoulder while he's hacking, showing you what he's doing.
Dang.
And then the other angle is showing you his face. You know who
Dang.
he is. He was intelligence. He was being controlled by them three-letter agencies from around the world. The intelligence agencies, the spy rings, has been the source to figure out how to control the narrative for them by going into the community. They send people that look like you and they extract the information to know who's the big deal in the neighborhood.
Right.
Right? We know who the chief gonna be because when he in elementary school, all of the kids go home and tell their mama about this kid.
Right. Right.
And
Okay.
all of these
Makes sense.
mamas wanting to see who this kid is coming to the school functions because he do whatever he do so well. They want to see for themselves.
That's right. I remember that. Yeah, that happened. That was happening when I was coming up. It was
Yeah.
always that kid that.
And they know this already.
Uh-huh.
It's so obvious that they know this already.
Yep. Yeah. That's
So
common sense.
they sending these people to sit into the school play, the football game, the basketball game, the baseball game, the hockey game, the volleyball game, all of the ones that shining the brightest. And they trying to figure out, how do I monetize this individual with a peculiar type of behavior?
Uh-huh.
They study you and monetize what you do to use what they call law to restrict your behavior, to compel you to violate what you would naturally do by
Dang.
violating a law. And
So
that's why I say no ex post facto law. That means no law written after the fact shall hold effect on the behavior that was prior to that law being written.
Uh-huh.
An ex post facto's violation grandfathers us in under the oral tradition because none of the oral traditions have been given up by the tribes. We continue to tell the griot stories as ghetto war stories in order to relay the information of what we're dealing with to the youth in order for them to come with comprehensive plans to change the narrative to improve the living conditions.
Uh-huh.
So they all chasing the bag because they think it's the solution, but the bag is the carrot on the stick. The real solution is how the bag come to you when you give the world what you got of yourself.
Right. That's deep. Go ahead.
Right? So the artists come out and they come out like the chief. He's dancing in public, getting the attention of the most amount of people.
Uh-huh.
While he can tell his greed stories in this particular art form. And then it'll help you understand how roses grow from concrete.
Right.
Right? And then you would know how to celebrate his tenacity and his will to grow.
Uh-huh.
And then you will understand more about how we move as units, even when we separated, because we find a way to put the message on the wire for each other to connect and link back to the tribes, this information that tells us how we get free. The continuity of government have been actively in process for 5 years. The new system brings the old system to a close with the shutting down of the banking system
Right.
because the fiat money is what's deceiving the people into surrendering their wealth through a system called inflation, fractional reserve banking.
Right.
And by doing this, the people never see that their money is being incrementally stolen from them and they being taxed. What are they taxing?
Right.
Anything that you would naturally do, there is a tax on it in order for them to get paid for you living according to the way you're supposed to live. So under the continuity of government, using executive orders, we seize all of the power companies for on behalf of the tribes of the land. Once the people start to understand this, they don't even they'll shut the system down.
Uh-huh.
So to seize the power companies give the tribes the right to provide free energy, and the only thing that would cost money is the transferring of the energy from its location to the outlet in which you surrendering the energy to. Big Mama Bank said the infrastructure is a responsibility of state government. So the
Right.
funding that's allocated to state government through Big Mama's Bank under the new system will then pay for the process of getting your utilities to your home, and you will not have a bill
Right.
because the state is supposed to pay for the necessities. So we talking about your basic utilities is light, gas, and water. The gas comes from the earth, the water comes from the earth, and the electricity can come from all of the above, right? And we can give it to the people using various means to generate it for free. And the infrastructure, the governmental, state governmental region is going to change because we can't take power and maintain the same lines of demarcation that the adversaries laid out to divide our lands up to separate us from ourselves.
Right.
So we will be having conventions around the land and discussing with the various different leaders that naturally emerge from the people to get the closest to the grassroots as possible with the solution. All this is part of the restructuring of the tribal systems because we had to talk about it because I can't impose what I want on you and you can't impose what you want on me. But
Right.
everything is up for discussion. And the thing that gives the greatest benefit is what's shared among the most of the people. And the thing that gives the most benefit at the current time is how to get them to understand that the knowledge of who they are and how these different groupings of people have been used as a scientific means to turn all people against each other. And that the daughters of Isis come in all different shades, colors, hair textures, and they make up the different families of the earth. And some of the families got members that look like each one of the other side of the family,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
right? Because the lines of families have been crossed, been sufficiently amalgamated among the different organic tribes of the earth that everybody should have a right of ascension, which takes us back then to explaining the reverse engineering of the Yakub process.
Uh-huh.
And this is what we've been going through for 500 years. And you have to figure out a way to get somebody who wouldn't do something to do something that they wouldn't normally do, but get them to do it voluntarily.
Uh-huh.
So they use sociology or the study of the movement of masses of people. It's the same as studying farm animals. If you are good in the art of husbandry, you will make you easier and able to operate and have influence over the most amount of people. Because if you can't control the animals, you sure the fuck can't control the man.
Right.
But if you can learn the nature of all of the different animals and how each of the animals interact with each other, it tells you that as a pack animal, is certain basic standards of respect that's due without upheaval taking place or what they call a fight,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So you got to tell the story that need to be told to free the most people. And so the chiefs sent me to talk to teach the most people what all of the other master teachers didn't talk. that they didn't know how it all interconnect.
Hey, yeah, Rod, man, I want to give you your flowers right now, Rod. You the man, Rod. Cause some shit, like, it's a lot of shit you done gave me that put that it's like little pieces that I done took now, and I'm seeing the whole shit now. I'm seeing the whole shit as it collapsed. I'm able to see the intricate parts of it, the little pieces that they don't show us about, like why Trump was doing what he was doing, why certain shit happened on the land, why they still trying to run this. Oh, that's a question I got for you because we had 2 hours. We're gonna take a couple more questions, but this is another question I got for you. So now I notice they starting this thing on the land where they shooting black people in the back, the police still. They stabbing guys up. The thing with Mississippi with the six white cops that did the two black boys. They study popping, showing this black on white crime type of ideology to
That's
us.
the divide and conquer classic tool
Okay.
because of the history of what's been taking place for the last 500 years. We assume from the history books that the people that was doing all that dirt was pale faces,
Uh-huh.
and it exonerated the ones that came from Europe that look like us, but they ain't us. And
Uh-huh.
it made us look at them as with a sense of brotherhood, and all the time they look at us as they sworn enemy. And we never knowing that these people are standing next to us while we fighting the pale face that they put up to fight us, so we can't see them.
Damn. It's cold.
It's the divide and conquer. That's why when you go back to Neely Fuller, when he tell you everything to break the chains of white supremacy, you basically assume your God form.
Uh-huh.
Stand on your own 2 feet. Let your yes be yes and let your no be no.
Right.
Move with a noble character because the noble character naturally betrays the presence of the noble blood.
Mm-hmm.
When you tarnish the noble character, you fall to your base desires, and then you are consumed by the nature of the energy you absorbed yourself in.
Mm-hmm. Hey man, we got about 1,200 people on this joint. Everybody hit that like button, man. Everybody send Rod $1, man. Put them in the game. We gonna bring it back because look, it's a lot of stuff you just said in this thing that just, man, you dropped a lot of jewels up in here on far as how explaining the shutdown and how it's transpiring, especially with that last little document we just played. It gave me some pieces that I needed to put this shit together on what's happening. And
Yeah,
while
it tell
Obama
you
got
in there that they are provisional government, royal republic government,
uh-huh,
what's it called, a Republican National Army or some shit.
uh-huh,
But he's talking about the royal family's military contingent
uh-huh,
when he was calling it the Republic Royal Guard or some shit.
uh-huh.
That's England control.
Yeah.
Remember that during the George Washington challenge, the fake George Washington was imitating the Washita, born
Mm-hmm.
in Barbados,
Mm-hmm.
and the other uh, Albert Pike was imitating Adam Weishaupt, being the information is to control the narrative from that angle. So Adam Weishaupt is responsible for the articles of the Bavarian Illuminati. And then you have the protocols of Zion that came from the Illuminati's information. The Bavarian Illuminati is talking about a place in Europe where these people in these secret societies got together and formed a particular plot, right? And they trying to take over, and it's a what they call a Game of Thrones. and you moving people from one position of power to another position of power, and you using a merit to move them according to your leisure. It's manipulation at the highest source. That's why if they can't blackmail you, they blackball you. Right? So they
Blackball,
gotta,
blackmail.
yeah, because black means you on defense.
Uh-huh.
Right? And anybody on defense don't stay stuck on defense.
Right.
Right? So sooner or later, Humpty Dumpty gonna fall, wasted potential. But
Right.
let the big dogs come out and play, right? Don't you run down there with them big boys unless you can rump with them. I can
Right.
handle the big mama. Okay, don't you bring your ass back up here crying if they knock you on your ass.
Right.
What they say, if you
That's
can't run
all
with
what
the
I
big
said.
dog, stay on the porch.
That's all what Big Home said.
It's all coded in the lingo.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And they tell you to put the lingo together according to the unified field theory. The unified field theory shows you that all things are connected, and then all you have to do is to know how to use the holographic view of existence and look at it from a God mind, and it changes your perspective when you realize that you the God self using the God mind to collapse creation, right? And from the field effect to the solid effect, the collapsing of reality around perception and perspective. The broader your perception and perspective, the more data that you will be able to process instantaneously, taking you from your mortal mind to your God mind. Where in your biblical references saying, let this mind be in you that was in Christ Isis, the anointed mother, queen of heaven and earth,
The
the one
IRS
who walked the land
pharmaceutical.
of Tamari, Miss Mary,
Yeah.
and it all come full circle.
Internal Revenue Services is the Spanish Inquisition services, and they going out of business right along with the other shit that that the Pope was talking about.
So if you keep watching, the finna see the banks collapse. When the banks collapse, it's gonna cause a government collapse. When the government collapse, it's gonna cease the election because of the government being collapsed. All of it happen like back to back. And
Damn.
then it'll go into martial law, military control, and then they'll roll out tribunals. That's how I see it playing out.
Yeah, I see. I see that. I see that. What I see is I see. It don't matter who they show us on TV, like who they gonna pick. I think they gonna go with Trump because Trump he gonna go ahead and close it out. He the closer. He closing the conjure. Or as far as
Look, you
the
seen
court.
Trump doing that reef ceremony, right?
Yeah, yeah.
That's only for the seated president. If you
Damn.
ain't the seated president, you don't do the reef ceremony.
Yeah. See, I was thinking about that. Like, what the hell is that? Then they trying to kill this man.
They
So who
try
the
to
hell trying to
tell
kill this
you,
man? Who the hell
they
you think
telling
is
you
this, bro?
openly in your face, behind your back.
Uh huh.
Because people don't know the protocols of the government. When they see stuff like that, they'll say, oh, Trump was at the reef thing. They don't know that he have to be the seated president in order to preside over that reef ceremony.
Wow. Hey, so
Right?
you think that the same niggas he mailed that letter to and told him that the game was up? The Moors, the dirty Moors,
Mhm.
he mailed the letter. That's the same niggas that trying to shoot him right now. You think, or is that all? You think it's like a facade or act or something they putting on? What would be the purpose of just making us think they're trying to kill him? You know what I'm
Well, you
saying?
know they uncovered the third attempt on him.
A third attempt?
Yeah, they tried to gas him. That's what they was reporting.
Oh shit, son! They after this thing.
So he was at a public event, and on one side they had the audience divided into VIPs on each side behind him, And on one side of them, all of the people that was in so many feet of them end up going to the ER, and they discovered that somebody was trying to gas Trump. That's what
Damn.
they said, right? The second dude was the dude at the golf course that
Yeah.
was trying to
Yeah.
snipe him
Yeah.
and
Rob.
was
Wesley
sticking the
Rob.
barrel through the fence. Any trained sniper would not have stuck the barrel
Yeah.
through the fence.
Yeah. He ain't
He
trained.
would have been right behind the fence, just out of sight of the bush, but the barrel would have been aimed through the fence.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you wouldn't have seen the barrel protruding from the fence. So that's
He
how
looked
you
half
know that
crazy
these
though.
people,
He looked a half
right?
goddamn crazy. Like he had a
These
tick from
people are patsies. They people that's been compelled for whatever financial reasons, familial benefits, or something to take the fall for something that's gonna have a catastrophic and historical importance.
Damn.
So they take the bullet for the family or whoever the people that's left behind to benefit the reward.
And they would, if he would have shot that guy, they probably had another guy on standby to shoot him, just like they did to do that's supposed to be shot Kennedy when it was the driver. They had a guy on
So
standby to rack him.
talking
Like
about Jack Ruby,
yeah, they had Jack
Jack,
Ruby on standby.
yeah.
Yeah, man, we better get up out of here, man. We at the 2 hour mark, man. Like I say, y'all, we got like a 1,200 people in here. Hit that like, hit that subscribe button. If you want, like I say, Broad don't do it for the donations, but like I say, show them some love, man, because we like they give them time to think, make them think where they don't be harassing them on other shit. Uh, yeah, hit them. Hey, y'all, we gonna be back, man. This right here was a hot one. Like every time me and Rod come on, it be hot. Rod be having some. A lot of this shit you might have to go back and listen to again, and then start taking notes, and then start going look some of this stuff up and see. You could see clearly see. I mean, never have it been made so clear that Mystery Babylon has fallen. I mean, it don't get no clearer than that. Mystery Babylon is fallen. And the only thing that's holding it up is the people that's still agreeing to the fraud. That's what it sounds like to me. Anybody that you still agreeing to all these systematic things that they got going, you'll be agreeing to the fraud. The only thing about it is what we gonna do. We're gonna have to go back to the hard shit.
It's at the verge of collapse. It's
Uh,
imminent. We can wake up tomorrow and a whole bunch of stuff be going on in the news about how the shifting took place, but they probably won't be calling it that. They'll be talking about economic turmoil and systems failures and stuff like that to
mm-hmm,
try to tell you that something is going on of a massive scale and to be on standby and prepare for what's to come next. And
mm-hmm.
then they're going to be directing you to pay attention to your special alerts because they'll keep you updated on events in real time. And then the EBS will kick in with the emergency broadcast, and then they'll tell you to see what the events have been unfolding. Go over here and watch this website, and then all the rest of the websites going to be difficult to connect because it's all military control. The internet
Right.
was created by the military for
That's fact.
military purposes.
Facts.
So all of this stuff that we saying now, and just notice the agents, notice the principal instructions to the masses about the instructions to the internal workings of things, so that we can see how this story is going to play out, right?
Right.
So we going over the data, revealing to the tribes people across the land from the many different shades that the organic land has reclaimed the birthright and is asserting that birthright, and that eventually, because we followed the oral tradition to the letter and without fail, they're going to have to surrender this corporate fiction control back to the tribes.
Right.
And they'll have to make this publicly known so that we know that we are in the reconstruction of tribal governments across the land, and that there's about to be some changes taking place and a whole lot of shaking going on as we celebrate from coast to coast for 2025. All of that stuff is coming to fruition faster than we can see with the naked eye because we experience it in real time. But it's like it's showing itself up in phases and stages. Like they reported a couple months ago that the Fed had lost track of $545 billion. That
Wow.
shows incompetence to handle the financial function for another fiscal year from these clowns. And they're showing us the failings of the system. They've been showing us bank branches closing. They've been showing us police stations closing,
Right.
which was a response to the letter,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then you seeing different jurisdictional controls being taken in certain places. All this is just showing you that these events is taking place in real time. Remember we was talking about the UN trucks
Yeah.
on the
Yeah.
trains and all
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
right? Because they all remember in the letter it told them to take it all back,
Yeah. Yeah.
give it to the clans.
So this is the last question I'm gonna ask you, Rod, and we're gonna get out of here. Somebody asked, they said, make sure you ask Rod this question, and I almost forgot to ask you. They said, okay, we talked about the gold coming back when Trump got the gold on the cargo planes. What did they take that gold? Did they take it back to Fort Knox? Did they take it underground? Did they take it to a vault? I mean, what did they take it? That gold.
I'm not 100% sure, but I have an opinion. I believe that they would have took it at one of the underground installations in Colorado because
Yeah.
that's where the infrastructure is being secured from.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And normally, when you securing the infrastructure from a place, you guarding something of high value in the place that you're trying to keep most secure.
Right.
Right.
So that
So
makes
that's
sense.
why I believe that they have the gold at the moment.
Yeah, but they ain't what they ain't gonna tell us is they ain't all our gold. They was just with the percentage, like 10, like less than 2 or 3% of our. That wasn't even it wasn't even a marker on our level of gold. It's a whole city of gold underground. Man, look, they be
You
man,
remember that movie with Nicolas Cage?
yeah, yeah, yeah. National
That's
treasure. It's a whole
that's the
fucking city.
national treasure.